I just had a baby. Let's talk about the first trimester. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Kamika, and this is Web Balance Wallet, where I help you create healthy money habits and live a life that you love on your current budget. In today's video, we're going to talk about the first trimester of my pregnancy. I'm going to start with finding out that we were having a baby. So I woke up on April 26th, and I had instructions from our fertility doctor to test on that morning. But this was our third round of IUI, so I expected it to go like the last two rounds went. So I got up, went to the bathroom, and I took the test, and I was just about to throw the test away because it didn't look like there were two lines. And right as I was about to throw it away, I saw a very faint second line. So I was shocked, and I just left it on the counter, and I went and got back in the bed. And then I got up 5 minutes later, and I went back and I took another test, and that one immediately showed two lines. And so I left and I got back in the bed, and then 5 minutes later I got back up to look and make sure that my eyes were not deceiving me, because I didn't feel any different, and I felt like I mentioned before the results were going to be the same as the last two rounds. So once I went back that third time and both lines were still on both tests, I knew that it was positive. I didn't feel any type of way besides the fact that our whole lives were about to change. And this was like 7 o'clock in the morning. I didn't tell my husband right away, but I knew I did want to tell him on that day because I didn't want to hold something like that as a secret, especially being that we have been going back and forth to the doctor and, changing our diet and doing like a bunch of different things. So I knew I wanted to tell him that day. So I decided to wait until after lunch because I wanted to take one more test just to be sure. And I didn't want to take it like in the morning with those first two because I wanted to, take it at a different time just to be sure that it still said the same thing later. So I waited until after lunch and I took a third test, and it was also positive. So what I decided to do was to put those three tests in like a little Ziploc bag, and I wanted to go to the store and get a few things to give my husband like a gift instead of just telling him like, hey, we're gonna have a baby. So I put the test in a little Ziploc bag, and I left work early. I work from home, so I left work a little bit early, and I went to, I think it was TJ Maxx, and I found a cute little mug that said, I think it said I love daddy or something like that. And then I also found a cute little children's book that said something about dad. I can't even remember what it said now. And I decided to give that to him. And I was so, I don't want to say shocked, but I guess that's the word. I was so shocked that I didn't even buy like a bag or like gift wrap or anything. I just presented the test with the two gift items to him inside of the TJ Maxx bag. And I think it was a very sweet moment between us. So I called him into my office and I told him to come and look at what I bought from the store because he knew I did go to the store. So I called him in there and I told him to come and see what I bought from the store, and he came in there and I gave him the bag.
You gotta move?
Yeah. Some was in the bag too.
They were all plastic?
Really? I took two this morning and I took one this afternoon. So we shared that little moment together, and we decided that we didn't want to tell anybody until we were at least 12 weeks along. And then we also wanted to wait to tell our parents as well. We kind of just wanted to have the secret between the two of us for a few weeks at least, and then we would start telling people that are in our immediate circle, and then we would wait until 12 weeks to tell anybody else. So that's exactly what we did. Around, I think it was 5 weeks, we were going on a trip with my family to Florida. So before the trip, Karen and I decided that we would tell my parents while we were on this trip, and that we would call his mother on our way back from the trip to let her know. My parents are extra, so we wanted to do something extra for them. So I bought a grandma and grandpa t-shirt that said established 2024. And my dad had been calling us like every night for the past couple of weeks, and he would do little dad jokes, and you know, that's how we would end our nights. So at 9 o'clock he would call, he would do a couple of dad jokes, and then, you know, we would get off the phone. So we decided that we wanted to tell them by doing a dad joke. We were trying to think about what kind of dad joke we could do, and then I thought of the perfect little cheesy dad joke. So my brother and his wife were also pregnant. They found out that they were having a baby around November, I think somewhere around Thanksgiving, and this was April. So they were going to have their baby in 2024, and we were going to have our baby in 2024 as well. So we asked my parents to come outside. When we got to the location, they came outside, and we said we had a dad joke for them. And so we said, what is something that you have none of, but you'll have two by the end of this year? And my mom was kind of confused at the beginning, and my dad, I guess he was just thinking about stuff that they wanted that they didn't quite have yet, and he said grandchildren, and I said yes. And they both had to stop and think about it. And once it finally clicked that my brother and his wife were having a baby and that Karen and I were also having a baby, they were so excited. So once they got the answer to the joke and they realized that we were expecting, we gave them their t-shirts, and everybody was excited. Well, the four of us were excited. And we decided not to tell anybody else that was on the trip until a bit later. So on the way home from the trip, we did call Kara's mom while we were in the car, and she's not extra, so he just told her that we were expecting, and she was so excited for us as well. So now I want to move on to symptoms, and everything that I had heard about pregnancy was that, oh, you're going to be so sick, you're going to be so tired, it's going to change your body, you're going to have mood swings, and all of those things. So when I found out that we were expecting, I was immediately expecting these things to happen to me, and they didn't. I felt normal. I went through the whole first trimester, and I think I only felt nauseous one time. And that one time I had one of those flavor packets that you put into the water, and it was the blue Skittles flavor. And I put that into my water and I drank it, and I felt terrible for the rest of the night. But that's the only time during the first trimester that I remember that I felt any type of nausea. I didn't have any headaches or anything. But the funny thing is that Care had pregnancy symptoms. He had to have a bowl of Frosted Flakes every morning, and he doesn't even eat cereal like that. He was nauseous a few times, and he was just really tired. Like, he was sleeping all the time. Anytime he could take a nap, he was taking a nap. Meanwhile, I'm up cleaning, like doing all of my regular stuff, working, not missing a beat. So I was grateful that he was feeling those symptoms and not me, so that I could concentrate on just fueling my body and drinking my water and not really feeling any type of symptoms. So I don't know what contributed to that, why he had the symptoms and I didn't. But once we found out, I immediately started taking these prenatal vitamins, which is the Ollie Extra Strength prenatal. And I think you take 2 of them per day. I immediately started taking these as soon as we found out, before we could even go to the doctor, because I think you have to wait until week 8 to go to the doctor for the first time. So I started taking these immediately, and I don't know if that had anything to do with me not having symptoms or if that's just, you know, how the cookie crumbled. But I was grateful that I didn't have any type of symptoms during the first trimester. So moving on, it kind of didn't feel real to me that I was actually going to have a baby until about week 7. I think that's the week where your baby is the size of a blueberry. So naturally, we started calling the baby Blueberry. And we finally had our first doctor appointment at week 8. And we were finally able to see Blueberry. And it was a really good experience. We had a really good ultrasound tech. And she explained to us what we were looking at because, you know, the ultrasounds look like black and white fuzz. So she explained everything that we were looking at, and that I was healthy, baby was healthy and growing at the right rate, and that we were on the right track. So that made everything feel real. As far as my emotional and mental health went, everything was smooth sailing for me. I was kind of concerned about Care, just because he was feeling those symptoms and I wasn't, but he was okay. And it didn't take a lot out of me because I wasn't going through that part. So my mental health and my emotional health stayed intact during that first trimester. So I can't think of any like products or any must-haves that I needed during the first trimester because everything was just normal for me during that time. And I didn't even buy a pregnancy pillow at that time. I lost a bunch of weight because I couldn't eat as much food as I usually eat. I had to eat very, very small portions, and it's not that I would be nauseous or anything. I would just get full really, really fast. So I would take like 2 or 3 bites of my food and I would be completely full and couldn't eat another bite. No smells triggered me. I didn't have anything going on like that, but I did lose a lot of weight during the first trimester. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was things that I wish I knew before the first trimester. I mean, I understood that everybody's experience was different, but I wish I knew that the symptoms don't immediately start as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, and also that everybody's symptoms are going to be different. So you hear a lot of horror stories and things that people don't like about being pregnant, or even just the first trimester specifically. But you don't hear a lot of positive stories, and I wish I knew that there could be positive stories that come out of the first trimester, and I'm grateful to have one of those stories. So I had a really good first trimester. So come back to the next video to find out what happened during the second trimester. So leave a comment below if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, or if you have any experiences from your first trimester that you would like to share. And that's all for this video. Be sure to give it a like, subscribe, and click the link on your screen right now for more Well Balanced Wallet content. See you there.